and grand rising to the heirs. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a universal, sovereign, original, natural, divine, Moorish American consular court. We are the Moorish American federal government, the sovereign Moorish American consulate, and the original indigenous Moorish American consular court. We are the most ancient court, both in heaven and on earth. Ego sum governing justice, rosum spiritus sanctus imamu ra el be. In capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredis. My free chosen national appellation of nobility is Rose Spirit Bay. In capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredis. No United States corporation, company, persons, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assignees, nor any derivatives thereof, has personam jurisdiction over me or any sovereign nobility of this earth. This universal sovereign lawful cause of action is manifested by the original indigenous sovereign national divine people, who are the de jure Moorish American federal government, the Moorish American consulate, and the de jure Moorish American consular court. The universal natural area code for this sovereign court is 86P8WR2G plus 3X. This cause of action is sovereign alphanumeric identifier MACG plus cause note OT 3, which is noticed to appear to the names United States corporation, company, persons for unlawful occupation of sovereign, indigenous, ancestral land. The date that the United States corporation, company, persons were commanded to appear is today, Tuesday, July 5th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, 2022 on the Greco-Roman or Gregorian calendar, at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is 6 o'clock p.m. Coordinated Universal Time. All those who view this sovereign consular court action on the public record are witnesses. This audio and video platform does not in any way diminish the sovereign authority, universal power, nor the ancestral efficacy of the command by this court, nor our consulate, nor our sovereign Moorish American government. Lawful notification was given to said United States corporation, company, person by way of Moorish federal government email and on the posting of the public record. All of the commerce by said United States corporation, company, persons to be named have been terminated by way of our sovereign universal Code 1 lien. We, the justices of the Moorish American Consular Court, do hereby execute universal sovereign consular court actions in the favor of all Moors where unlawful occupation of our sovereign original indigenous land is proven, with nationality status being the proof necessary to activate our sovereign living court action. This court action is hereby placed on the public record, for the public record, and letting the public record show that the United States corporation, company, persons are hereby called forth at this time, and each of you persons are commanded to state your name and nationality for the American people, who are the Moorish American federal government. Once you have stated your name and nationality for the public record, you will then be required to respond to 3 questions by this living court. Your only response shall be yes if yes is true and no if no is true. You are commanded to say nothing further, and no questions will be answered by this sovereign court at this time. At this time, we call forth the following corporate persons. Demon Jamie, doing business as Demon Jamie or Jamie Demon, Chief Executive Officer, doing business at JP Mortgage Chase Bank. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record. By the power of 3 times 3 is long. Charles W. Schorf, doing business as the Chief Executive Officer at Wells Fargo Bank. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record. By the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Moyina Brian T. Moyina, Chief Executive Officer at the Associative Bank. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record. Thomas Sutherland, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank Corporation. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record. Jean-Michel, doing business as co-lead securities financing and global head of repo at the Office of Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record. Adam Richards, doing business as Richard M. Adams, Chief Executive Officer, United Bank. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Richard Dana Fairbank, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of Capital One National Associated Bank Corporation. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Rob Nichols, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of American Bankers Association. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Roger Ver, doing business as Chief Executive Chairman at the Office of Bitcoin Foundation. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Peter Smith, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of Blockchain. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Vijay Sundararajam, you, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of Google. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Mark Elliott Zuckerberg, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at Facebook Incorporated. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Dan Stoltz, doing business in the Office of Spire Credit Union. Dan Schultz, doing business as the Chief Executive Officer at the Office of Spire Credit Union. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Andrew Searcy, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of U.S. Bank. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. David Railing, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of Sunrise Banks. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Greg R. Dahl, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of TCF Bank. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Brud Baker, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of Stride Bank. You are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record by the power of 3 times 3, Islam. Dan Schulman, doing business as Chief Executive Officer. You, at PayPal, at the Office of PayPal Financial Services, you are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record. By the power of 3 times 3 Islam. Hikmet Ersek, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at the Office of Western Union, you are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record. By the power of 3 times 3 Islam. Daniel M. Henry, doing business as Chief Executive Officer at Green Dot Bank, you are hereby commanded to state your name and nationality for the record. By the power of 3 times 3 Islam. This is inclusive of all that were named above and printed and sent above, whether called or not during this recording, and all agents, all principals, all heirs and assignees, and all derivatives thereof of said corporate companies. Islam. Silence is acquiescence. Therefore, those who do not speak when commanded have consented to our universal sovereign jurisdiction authority. By way of this sovereign ex parte action, as the corporate parties did fail to appear and respond point for point, sovereign ex parte action by the Supreme Justices, who are the living Moorish American Consular Court, are further affirmation that we do not need the permission of anyone to lawfully govern our vast estate. All United States Corporation Company persons are subject to this justice and all subsequent justices and commands of the Moorish American Consular Court. Our sovereign government rulings are the supreme law for the land, even in matters ex parte. We, the people, do hereby state that those United States Corporation Company persons whose names were called are guilty of unlawful occupation of our sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, ancestral lands. All property on our land is already in the sovereign possession of the heirs. All corporate fraud and corruption has been removed from our sovereign resources. The American Provost Marshal is hereby notified and commanded to arrest you and place you at Guantanamo Bay Prison, where your decapitation shall occur. All who choose to live and breathe on our land are subject to us and shall obey all sovereign commands, and no public office nor property shall be held by said consenting subjects. Sumus de sanctum unum. We are the holy ones. Nous vivons. We live. Sumus classes tenni abundante imperium. We are the keys to our abundant empire. Amen Ra, Amen Ra, Amen Ra. Dico vobis quecunque sumus veritis super terrum erunt lingate et in calu, et sumus quecunque sul veritis super terrum erunt suta et in calu. Amun Ra, Amun Ra, Amun Ra. Dico vobis quecunque sumus veritus super terram erunt lingata et in calu, et sumus quecunque sul veritis super terram erunt suta et in calu. Amun Ra, Amun Ra, Amun Ra. Dico vobis quecunque sumus veritis super terrum erunt lingate et in calu, et sumus quecunque sul veritis super terrum erunt suta et in calu. Truly I say to you, whatsoever we bind on earth is bound in heaven, and whatsoever we set free on earth is set free in heaven. With the completion of this sovereign Moorish American consular court action, we the heirs do hereby peacefully tribute to ourselves and to our sovereign heirs that which is rightfully ours according to the will of our eternal, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, infinite, self-existent, self-sufficient ancestors who are present here for this court action, and this court action is hereby complete. Peace and grand rising to the ascended Moorish American nobility, and grand rising to all of risen humanity. Islam. All sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient divine American autographs affirm this in all sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient Empire State of Morocco and the de jure Moorish American National Federal Republic government documents on the public record at America, ancient Morocco, northwest of Mexico, northwest Africa, and the North Gate, Turtle Island, Lemuria, Gaia, Midgard, Earth. In Chronos time, immemorial into perpetuity. Ego Sum, sovereign living justice. Rosalind, Spiritus Sanctus, Imamu, Ra, Elbe, Islam.